Hey guys, Corey Beasley with Fight Camp Conditioning, and today I wanted to share some of the landmine attachments that I'm using here in the garage. Alright, so most of you guys are probably familiar with the landmine. Typically it's just a barbell jammed into a sleeve, which allows us to pivot and move in a lot of different directions. This particular attachment I got from Pure Motion. It's really nice. The sleeve was just goes right into this mount that goes onto my squat rack, which I thought was cool. The bearings are really nice. It allows this thing to move real smooth, much smoother than some of the other ones that I've used in the past. But yeah, it gives us a lot of variation for a lot of different movements. Now this first attachment is called a Warhammer. It's from the guys over at Pure Motion as well. And basically what this thing does, it just allows us to do a whole lot of unilateral or one-sided movements, from presses like you're looking at here, to which is probably the most common exercise you see. But it also allows us to do a lot of different rowing variations, single leg RDLs, and all this type of stuff with a nice comfortable grip. I know a lot of clients were complaining in the past that the having to hold the end of that barbell, which is not only big but also kind of dirty at times. So this thing just makes everything a lot more user-friendly, and it's worked out really nice. We use it almost every week in the garage here. So cool tool. This next one's called a Wishbone. The Wishbone allows us to do a whole lot of squats and deadlift, different variations. It's got the revolving handles, which again are on those ball bearings, which move real super smooth. The pads underneath allow us to do things like hack squats, so we can face away and get that nice, let those pads just rest on your shoulders. We can also face forward. They built these handles in, which allow us to split squat, staggered squat, and also square up. But those handles on both sides just take a lot of the stress off your wrists and shoulders. We can add plates onto this, which makes everything really easy, and we can really load this thing up and get some work done at different vectors. This one isn't really a attachment, but it's one thing that I'd never seen before, but it's just a stand for the landmine. So if you're doing a lot of stuff that's up on your shoulders or in your hands, especially when it's heavy, I really don't want people lifting that thing up and getting it into position. Is typically the weirdest part. So this thing just makes a lot of those big, heavy movements a lot more user-friendly. So if you guys have it set up in a circuit, or even if you're just doing this exercise standalone, it adjusts real quick. It's easy to use, and man, it makes life a lot better when you're using this landmine attachment with some decent loads. Now this clean and jerk bar, it has the revolving handles as well as you can stack weights on the side, which is cool. A lot of different deadlifts, power cleans, snatch variations, and stuff like that. But what these handles allow us to do is you don't have to clear your knee. You don't have the typical, learning curve that you might have with a barbell. What I've found with this is it makes a lot of these explosive movements much easier to implement and learn. And guys are literally picking up the bar, and they don't have to worry about their mobility in their wrists, their shoulders, all these different things they might have to have with the barbell. It just cleans things up and makes it super nice. This last attachment here is called the Omega. A lot of you guys have done those rotational movements that are big arcs side to side with just a traditional landmine. All this basically does is just make that movement a lot cleaner, a lot easier to implement, and we can go on the top half of that circle. There's also an uppercut, they call it, with where we're doing the bottom half of the circle, which is super gnarly. But this handle makes these movements real super nice, easy to implement. And the thing I like most about a lot of these landmine attachments is you just throw them over the bar. It's a quick turnaround, and we're off to the next exercise and running. So great piece. So there you guys have it. There's a handful of the landmine attachments that I've been using here in the garage from Pure Motion. And a lot of you guys, if you guys are training, you guys understand the power and the versatility of using that landmine. It really helps people, do movements that maybe they can't do with just a regular old barbell, but they can still squat and hinge and push and pull maybe a little bit cleaner, a little bit better. As well as working on some different vectors and angles and stuff like that as well. So I think these attachments are super handy. I'm using them every single week with my guys here in the garage, And I'd highly recommend getting over to Pure Motion, checking them out.